All right, good evening. Hope everybody's feeling relatively well today. Welcome to the regular board meeting of the Board of School Directors of the School District of Springfield Township. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A reading of the mission statement. The mission of the School District of Springfield Township is to educate and develop all students as learners and citizens who are high-achieving, resilient, and responsible in a changing global community. Roll call, Mr. King.
Mr. Bedard.
Here.
Mr. DeFranco.
Here.
Dr. Evans.
Here.
Ms. Jordan. Mr. Lapis.
Here.
Mr. Newman.
Here.
Ms. Sarsfield.
Here.
Ms. Lipinski.
Here.
Dr. Terratuska.
Here. Announcements. The board at its discretion may videotape all or any portion of the public board meeting subject to the limitations set forth in Policy 006.2, Broadcasting of Meetings. Board meetings will be broadcast on Friday afternoon following the board meeting. Are there any public comments on agenda items? Okay, thank you. Approval of minutes. January 21st, 2020 regular meeting, board minutes K. Is there a motion? And a second. Any comments or questions? Okay, Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco.
Aye.
Dr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Lapis.
Aye.
Mr. Newman.
Aye.
Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye.
Dr. Terratuska.
Aye. Approval of the treasurer's report, treasurer's report F. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second. Any comments or questions? Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco. Dr. Evans. Mr. Lapis. Mr. Newman.
Aye.
Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Terratuska.
Aye. Reports and information, a district PTA report. Is there a representative? Come on up.
Good evening. Can you all hear me?
Yep, we
Okay,
can,
great.
thanks.
Thanks for having us, whatever. So the PTA, the secondary PTA, is investigating if the township wanted to partner with the PTA to have one Friday a month to be an open rec night, to have the pool and the gym open. So we're investigating to see whether or not that's an option. The secondary PTA started a student committee. The first meeting is next Friday, February 27th. Pierre LaRocco from the high school and Rachel Foley from the middle school are leading the group along with me. And the intention of the group is to have an understanding of what the students may be interested as far as the secondary PTA and how we might help the students and find out ways that we can engage with them and for them to engage with us. We partnered with Dr. Damian Johnson, for a second coffee and conversation event last week that was on kids and technology. It was very well received. We canceled our meeting, which is scheduled for tomorrow evening, to encourage the membership to attend the coffee and conversation. It was very well received. Damian does an excellent job, and it's the content of what's presented causes a lot of conversation, which I think is the whole purpose of it, which is great. We awarded a little over $3,000 in mini grants. We have additional money for programming, so we have a programming committee that will be meeting with the teachers in both the middle school and high school to try to evaluate what sort of programs would benefit the kids. The money that the secondary PTA raises is in large part, in almost all the parts, is to try to benefit as many kids as possible. So we really want to understand what programs that we can help fund that would help the kids in enrichment type activities that the school district would otherwise not be able to fund. We wanted to send a special shout out to Dr. Rittenhouse and Mr. Fuller. They've been fantastic on our executive committee. They've lent a great deal of guidance and expertise, and we're really happy to be partnering with them. And I also want to send a special thank you to Neil DeFranco, because he's been coming to many of our PTA meetings, and that's really nice to have school board members be present and be a part to see what's going on. The elementary PTA asked that I read their report. So their fourth grade family night was Friday, January 10th. The event was at the Franklin Institute Traveling Show, Science Show. It was very well received. EHSP Talent Show took place on Saturday, February 8th. There were about 40 acts spread out over 2 shows. They want to thank all the performers, families, and volunteers for their hard work. Thank you to Julie Bishop for chairing this event again this year. Second grade African Bazaar is coming up on Thursday, February 20th. The students are excited to showcase their artwork and research. Erdenheim Book Fair is coming up on March 2nd to the 6th, with family night on Wednesday, March 4th from 4 to 7 p.m. The spring spirit wear sale is coming up in the next few weeks. EEHSP will be selling shirts for Color Day and other fun Spartan items. The new and improved EEHSP Spirit Wear online store will be launching soon, and they thank you. Also, the secondary PTA, we are working on the direction for next year. We met with the foundation, the Springfield Foundations, one of the board members, and have a very good idea as far as the direction that the foundation is going in. So we are going to we're going to be meeting in March, the membership to decide our direction and take a vote in April. So our next PTA meeting is next March, and that is Wednesday, March 18th at 7 p.m. in the middle school library. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for all the things you're doing.
Thank you.
We have time for a student council report. Is there student council representatives? No reps here today. Okay. Reports of committees. Property Committee, Gretchen Slapinski.
Thank you. We had a Property Committee meeting on Thursday, January 23rd. At that meeting, we had a follow-up discussion about the 308 Hawes Lane property. Neighbors had attended the board meeting, the full board meeting, to express their concern with future use of the property. We discussed that we would be meeting with the township to discuss options with them, which we did on February 7th, and there's still communications ongoing regarding that. We saw the status of the Enfield project. We saw a presentation on the final draft design for the current site with the playing fields, concession stand. We reviewed the budget and the schedule, and we discussed the need to have a public hearing to officially close the current Enfield building. Some of the options that we viewed in the plan were some ideas that came from community meetings, such as the walking path and a sort of concession stand field house. Discussions and planning are still ongoing for how big that's going to be, what the amenities are going to be with that field house, and also what we're calling the amphitheater area, which is going to be at the end of the all-purpose field. That will just be a seating area and have the opportunity to maybe hold some other types of events in that area. We discussed the status of the high school renovation and the early learning center. The high school is at substantial completion. There's still some punch list items ongoing. The students and public are fully occupying the renovated spaces, and we are looking to close out documents, get township and county approvals, and just kind of wrap up everything else that needs to be done with that renovation. The early learning project is still on schedule and on budget. They're doing the interior work right now, and major medical equipment is being installed. The exterior work is ongoing, driveways and sidewalks. And at the meeting, we also discussed and made a final decision on the name choice, which was going to be Enfield Elementary School, which was the overwhelming first choice in our community survey. So it is officially now the Enfield Elementary School 2.0. We briefly reviewed some summer projects. The district has an ongoing list of long-term capital projects that we review periodically. We just reviewed the updated plan and identified the summer projects that were going to be completed in 2020. We had one other issue that we talked about, which was informational. It was brought to our attention by some parents that the multipurpose field at the high school fence blocked viewing for the parents and the spectators just because of the way the fence was structured and how close it was to the seating area. So we're looking at different styles for the fencing, especially in the main areas where people are going to be looking through the fence. And also, we also had a request for the lacrosse team to hold their senior night in the stadium. That discussion is ongoing. And that is it. Anyone have any questions?
Actually, I have a question about the process for closing the current building. We're going to have a public hearing. Are there other steps to that process of closing?
I think the hearing has a bunch of steps, like it has to
Okay.
be publicly announced within a certain amount of time. We hold the hearing, and I'm not sure exactly what happens after that.
After which, there are also several filings we have to do with the township, PDA, county, I believe. And there'll be another motion, once we decide that we're going to close it, there'll be another motion in June, first board meeting in June. We have to have the public hearing first, which is scheduled for Tuesday, the March 3rd board meeting.
March 3rd.
At 6:30, prior to the March board meeting, we'll have that public hearing. Then there's a waiting period before the board can officially end.
The 90-day waiting period under state law before
Okay.
you can close a school building.
Okay,
And the Department of Education has to approve it also.
okay. Okay, good. Great, thanks. Finance Committee, Walter Lapidus.
Mine is much less riveting. You wanted me to be brief. We met, we were done meeting. It was, no. We primarily discussed two topics. One was the refinancing opportunity, which has the potential of saving us a minimum of $150,000 in interest payments over time. We're going to have a motion this evening on our board agenda. The other item we discussed was the need to revise the audit due to some restatement of medical and prescription CPAS reserves. I believe that was done, and we're going to be voting on the revised audit today as well. Then we had a very brief executive session where we discussed a real estate matter, a litigation matter, and an assessment appeals matter. Are there any questions? Not all of them. Thank you.
And Academic Affairs, Kat Sarser.
So the Academic Affairs Committee met on Monday, January 27th. Dr. Yannicone went over the curriculum review that we're going through right now, which is the social studies, and we focused on the 6th through 9th grade new courses. She went over those, and we talked about them. We then also looked at the high school and the social studies electives that are going on, that are going to be starting in the next school year, and that's civics, 12, and African American studies. And we talked about the textbook adoption proposal. And then we also looked a little bit more at the next school year, what the course selection will be at the high school, kind of looking a little bit more at the senior experience. We talked about broadening. Right now, there's not as many options for seniors, but there will be coming up, which is great. It's going to be a little bit more broad for independent study and for internships, paid work options to get credit, college courses. So that'll be a nice expansion of what seniors have available. And then we also talked about the computer science and business options that are available for next year. Then Lauren Davis went over the MTSS implementation. And for those of you that don't know what MTSS is, it's a multi-tiered support system. And our system is tiered so that students that, that need more support get more support. So, kind of you look at enabling responses to kids that need more, kind of grouping them accordingly. So she went through our program here at the district level. So, and then we also briefly talked about the Act 339 committee meeting that would be happening in February, and that was just open to administration and staff, and that was for career readiness. Anything else that we, okay.
Thank you.
Any questions? No?
Dr. Hacker, Administrative Report.
Thank you. Just to repeat what Mr. King already mentioned, we have the public hearing regarding the closure of the former or current Enfield Elementary School. That's Tuesday, March 3rd at 6:30 p.m. We don't know at this point whether or not we will be having an interim board meeting at 7 o'clock to follow, but we scheduled it just in case we do for 6:30 p.m. So that meeting is required by school code in order to follow through with the steps in the process that Mr. King just spoke about. I also wanted to, again, as Chris Casaubon did, thank Dr. Johnston for her wonderful coffee and conversation series and for be a part of the conversation in order to bring in their presentation about social media. To follow up on that, we have viewing of the film Screenagers next Wednesday evening, February 26th, correct? No?
March 11th.
March 11th, sorry, I have the old date. And that will be at
High School Auditorium at 6:30.
High School Auditorium, March 11th at 6:30. And hopefully that program will also be very well attended. And by the way, we had been contacted by a parent who had given us information about Screenagers. We brought it to administration to see what their thoughts were, and so I'm very happy that it is coming to fruition, because it was a wonderful suggestion on the part of the parent who reached out to us about that. The final thing that I'd like to mention is we will be sending out another thought exchange survey to all parents, teachers, and secondary school students about starting school start times later. So that is coming. I filmed a video and wrote an introduction for that survey to explain what that's all about. My superintendent's message that is on the website also has information about our exploration of whether or not this is an area that we wish to follow through with. Wendy Troxell's visit in December is also on the website if anyone would like to see her presentation about chronic sleep deprivation in teens and the need for them to get more hours of sleep each evening. So there will be notifications by way of e-blast going out to the parent community when the thought exchange survey is ready to be issued, but that should be within the next couple of weeks.
All right, new business personnel. The Board of School Directors approves the following personnel as presented in the attachment: certificated personnel, support personnel, temporary personnel, and conference workshop attendance. Is there a motion? And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Mr. Key?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Franco.
Aye.
Dr. Evans.
Aye.
Ms. Jordan. Mr. Newman.
Aye.
Mr. Lapis. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Pettis.
Aye. Number 2, lit fiber license. The Board of School Directors approves the 60-month 10 Gbps lit fiber agreement number 2020-55203 with Crown Castle Fiber in the amount of $1,400 per month, or $1,400 per month for network services between the Springfield Township High School and Springfield Township Transportation Building. Is there a motion? And a second. Any comments or questions? GPS. Okay, I have not seen that. Thank you. Thank you all for that. Any other comments or questions?
Might just need a question.
None.
How are they communicating?
Currently, there's a 1 gigabit connection that we lease there, and these numbers are pre-discount for E-rate, so we do get 40% off. But this is in preparation for bringing on a new Enfield building with the capacity to come back to this building to go out to the internet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Just to follow up, because another motion is coming up, you have a similar motion for number.
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco.
Aye.
Dr. Everett. Ms. Jordan. Mr. Lapis. Mr. Newman. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Linsky. Dr. Fairclough.
Aye. Number 3, dark fiber license. The Board of School Directors approves the 60-month, 10-gigabyte dark fiber agreement, number 2020-5519, with Crown Castle Fiber in the amount of $1,200 per month for network services between Springfield Township Transportation Building and the new Enfield Elementary School, 300 Montgomery Avenue. Is there a motion? And a second. Any comments or questions? Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco.
Aye.
Dr. Everett. Ms. Jordan. Mr. Lapis. Mr. Newman. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Linsky. Dr. Fairclough.
Aye. Number 4, website design, build, and launch. The Board of School Directors approves the campus suite proposal for website design, build, and launch at a cost of $7,318.40, starting July 1, 2020. Is there a motion? And a second. Any comments or questions?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco.
Aye.
Dr. Everett. Ms. Jordan. Mr. Lapis. Mr. Newman. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Linsky. Dr. Fairclough.
Aye. Number 5, website PDF remediation. The Board of School Directors approves the campus suite proposal for website PDF remediation at a cost of $7,115.85, starting July 1, 2020. Is there a motion? And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
I have another question.
I apologize.
That's okay.
I was reading through this one, and so I guess the mandate, this is so that these are accessible to,
In order to meet ADA federal requirements, the PDFs that are loaded onto the website have to be compliant with those ADA regs.
gotcha, okay. So we don't have that currently?
We have it, but this is a much more streamlined service, which enables us, we have so many PDFs that are loaded on the website. This is a better service, which is going to enable us to make sure they're all accessible and compliant with the law.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco. Dr. Everett. Ms. Jordan. Mr. Lapis. Mr. Newman. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Linsky. Dr. Fairclough.
Aye. Number 6, online registration. The Board of School Directors approves the proposal with Registration Gateway for online registration design, services, implementation, support, and launch at a cost of $31,250, starting July 1, 2020. Is there a motion? And a second. Any comments or questions?
Sorry.
No, please,
Another
this is what you do. Please ask questions.
You didn't answer all these questions at that 5-hour training that you went to?
Not quite, and I did read through the documents, and it seemed pretty self-explanatory, but my big question is what is it replacing?
We don't have a current online system for registration.
So we're doing it the old-fashioned?
So we are doing it the old-fashioned way, which, as you can imagine, requires hours and hours of work and is extremely labor-intensive, especially for Heidi Fallon and my administrative assistant, Luann McKenna, particularly during kindergarten registration.
I remember that. Well, I remember being there.
So the first step, we actually had implemented an appointment service online where now people can go in and actually get their appointments online,
Right.
which has streamlined the ability of people to make appointments so that they no longer need to call for an appointment. this is the next step, which is actually getting all registrations online.
Thank you.
And will this allow, like, registration for courses at the high school at all? Or is this just for registration for the
No, I think
district?
it's just like
Okay.
overall student information system.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard. Aye. Mr. DeFranco. Aye. Dr. Evans. Aye. Ms. Julie. Mr. Lapkus. Aye. Mr. Nealon. Aye. Ms. Sarski. Ms. Lipinsky. Aye. Dr. Kaczynski.
Aye. Number 7, CIEE foreign exchange student. The Board of School Directors approves a high school foreign exchange student from Slovakia to attend Springfield Township High School for the 2020-2021 school year, sponsored by the Council on International Educational Exchange. Is there a motion? And a second? Any comments or questions? Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard. Aye. Mr. DeFranco. Aye. Dr. Evans. Aye. Ms. Julie. Mr. Lapkus. Aye. Mr. Nealon. Aye. Ms. Sarski. Ms. Lipinsky. Aye. Dr. Kaczynski.
Aye. Number 8, Bond Parameter Resolution Series 2020. The Board of School Directors approves the attached parameters resolution for the issuance of Series 2020 bonds in an amount not to exceed $12 million for the purposes of the current refunding of Series 2012, 2012A, 2013, and 2014, paying the costs and expenses related to the issuance of the bonds, Attachment M. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second. Any comments or questions?
Should this resolution somewhere be that has to be agreement I believe it's in the resolution.
You mean in the attached, in the parameters resolution?
Well, it's also, we could either accept it or not. Legally, It's in section 1.
Yes, it says $150,000 in section 1, next to the last line, subparagraph B.
Electronic searching.
Oh, yes. First paragraph.
Section.
Section 1, subparagraph B.
Okay, so
Section 1.
it's in section 1, but we don't need it, we have it in the big resolution, but we don't need it in
That's the
this
minimum.
one. Okay.
And then, just for clarity,
So the total amount of the bond issue won't exceed 10 million. We're going to keep it under 10 million because it becomes bank qualified and we pay less. The reason they do 12 million is because over the life of once we get the bids, they have to arrange the debt that folds into our existing debt. So each of those years, they put the maximum amount that they could put in there, as well as if you look at some of the backup document, you'll see interest rates as high as 5% for every single year. So once we get the final bid results, they'll be able to take whatever pieces, this much principal this year, this much interest this year, to be able to do a wraparound into our current existing debt. But it will not exceed 10 million.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco. Dr. Etley. Ms. Jordan. Mr. Lapkus. Mr. Needleman. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Tesco.
Aye. Number 9, revised audit report, year ending June 30th, 2019. The Board of School Directors approves the Finance Committee's recommendation to accept the revised district audit report for the year ending June 30th, 2019, as prepared by Dreslin and Company. Is there a motion? And a second? Any comments or questions? Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard. Aye. Mr. DeFranco. Dr. Etley. Ms. Jordan. Mr. Lapkus. Mr. Needleman. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Tesco.
Aye. Number 10, BCIU Special Education Services Agreement. The Board of School Directors, I'm sorry.
Section 1.
That's okay. Okay.
Doesn't happen often,
It's all good. Number 10, BCIU Special Education Services Agreement. The Board of School Directors approves the agreement of the Special Education Services Agreement and the schedule of costs for the school year 2019-2020. Is there a motion? And a second? Any comments or questions?
Is this something that is not available through the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit? or-
This is actually for potential services being delivered to one or more Carson Valley students
Oh, okay.
that we are responsible for, and then we bill back Philadelphia.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard. Aye. Mr. DeFranco. Aye. Dr. Etley. Ms. Jordan. Mr. Lapkus. Mr. Needleman. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Tesco.
Aye. Are there any public comments on non-agenda items? Okay. Future meeting dates, there's an interim board meeting scheduled for Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020, at 7 p.m. in the Freeze Memorial Lobby, and the public hearing for the official closing of the old Enfield Elementary School building will be held at 6:30 p.m. that evening, Tuesday, March 3rd. There's a regular school board meeting scheduled for Tuesday, March 17th, 2020, at 7 p.m. in the Freeze Memorial Lobby. And no board committee meetings are scheduled at this time. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. We're adjourned.